and left it on the desk and people walking past the window could read it, that's a breach of GDPR. Because they've left your information out. Equally, if they took your...
If it's by mistake,
Sorry?
If they made a mistake.
It would be an expensive mistake if they got sued. If they were reported to the Information Commissioner's Office, they would get sued.
It's like us though, we're not allowed to take physical CVs.
Which one?
Superdrug. So if someone comes in with a physical CV, it has to be to a manager and they have to go straight to the office.
Yeah.
Like you can't just leave it on the shop floor because someone will take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same if you, for example, if you're working in a, I know, let's say a bank or at a post office or a building society, and you had your computer open and it had customers' details on, Jim Bob Smith, living at Wanley Street, High Wycombe, has £120 in his account and is overdrawn, and this is all his information, it's on the screen, and the screen's there and any customer can walk past and see it. Again, it's a data breach. And you might not get recompensed, but I guarantee you the Information Commissioner's Office will fine you. Okay? So, now we know that you all understand each of those aims. What we're going to do is we're going to spend 10 minutes having a little look at Information Commissioner's Office, because the Information Commissioner's Office is all about data protection, ethics, etc., etc., and there's some really fascinating case studies. So I'm just going to pop that on the board for you, and I just want you to spend 10 minutes having a look around, and then we're going to discuss it. The ethics of data is absolutely fascinating, and if we spend 40 hours a week, every week for a year, talking about it, we still wouldn't have scratched the surface. It is such an interesting subject, and when the GDPR came out, lawyers went on very long courses to really understand it so they could interpret it, so they could battle it out in court, etc., etc. So, if you go onto your internet and go to ICO, Information Commissioner's Office.
Okay, I saw this.
This is on Blackboard.
Yeah, I saw this one, but it said, do you agree, accept? Just
so
left.
You can see here GDPR guidance and resources. You've got freedom of information, but have a little look around because there's all sorts on there. Because I think you might be very, very surprised. This action we've taken is interesting, particularly lessons learned from reprimands. And you can see here, bolstering online security, keeping systems safe is a must. Use alternatives to BCC when sending emails concerning sensitive personal information. Now, for those of you that don't know, BCC means blind carbon copy. And what we mean by blind carbon copy is once upon a time when we used typewriters, we would have a sheet of paper and then we would have a sheet of something called carbon, which was basically ink, and then we put another sheet of paper on top, and as the typewriter keys hit the top sheet, the bottom sheet would get the same letter because the carbon copy would imprint onto it. We just now print out hundreds of copies and they all look just as good. But if you got the 10th copy, if you got like 10 carbon copies, by the 10th sheet it was literally illegible. But there is an issue with BCC and it has caused data breaches. So have a little scooch around here. It's 2:51 now. I just want you to take till sort of 3 o'clock, just having a little hunt around this site. It is phenomenally interesting and it is phenomenally relevant, but we don't really have more than sort of 10-15 minutes to give to it today because we need to focus on the assignment. So I'm just going to let you have a little scooch around there. While everybody does that, can we just sort out your time? What date did we say?
Monday.
Which Monday?
I think 17th.
What is this one?
17th.
Yeah. It's just right after. Because obviously I can't do it Friday.
What time?
Any. It doesn't matter.
11?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Equity.
What's your email?
2231 8118.
18. Is that right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Would you forward that to your partner?
Mm-hmm.
I've put it in for half an hour, that should be more than enough.
Yeah.
Right, so let's go back over here. Right, so I want you all to be
Is
on
it, well, how do we find this? Is it ICO?
ico.org.uk.
Okay, let me put it down.
So, I mean, if you go to the home page, you can see straight away there's lots of resources and information on here. But if you go to the actions we've taken, this is the most interesting bit. Because it talks about actually the penalties for getting it wrong. And it can be as much as 4% of your profit. Now, if you're a company that makes billions, like Amazon, like Google, like British Airways, and you lose 4% of your profit, that's huge if you think about it. And for some organisations, it could actually
Hello
close
everyone, welcome
companies
to
down.
Data Umbrellas webinar. I'm going to do a brief introduction.
Sorry, let me turn off this.
So
People
just
coming.
spend the next 5 minutes having a read around this site, please.
But this one is saying agree. Saying agree.
And why do you do that? Oh, look.
Data analysis. Okay. I just want to, but this link you gave us is on Blackboard as well. Let me go through Blackboard. It's here. Data ethical and meaning of what takes.
I'm just going to make sure it is on Blackboard for you. I'm sure it is.
Okay. Where did I find it again? Data analysis.
Right, I've put it
Okay,
up there
this-
for you.
Oh, you put it for us.
Yeah, just to make sure you've got it.
Okay,
It's
let
at
me
the
go.
bottom.
Let me go. Okay, at the bottom.
So just spend the next few minutes having a little look around in this page, and then we're going to... You look, actually, are you all right?
I don't know.
You look quite tired.
I am
Maybe it's
very
just been a
tired.
very long week.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or just,
What time are you working till?
Jack, is it this one?
No.
That's what I saw on week 5 at the bottom.
Yeah, week 5.
Mm-hmm.
Just refresh your page and it should be there. It's at the bottom. It
Okay.
says Information Commissioner's Office.
I'll see you next week.
I'm not sure how you're having a whiz round when you actually, your arms are folded and your hands are nowhere near the keyboard. Because we are going to discuss what you've discovered in a minute. Would you guys rather have a break or finish early?
We don't want to finish early. Teach us everything.
He's want to finish early.
I don't want to finish.
Can we be democratic and have a vote? Who would rather finish a little bit earlier and have
What
no break?
time's early though?
You tell me.
You told me that
4:30.
4:30. What time you finish? 5?
We're supposed to finish at 5, but you guys keep wanting to go for the bus.
Last year we had a vote like, well, I'm speaking for myself. Last year another class had a vote for to pick like, you know how we have lessons on Friday with you? Like, is it possible that it's not gonna happen, but to put this lesson on the day that we actually come in for the other lesson?
I can ask, and I know Suzanne has been feeding back to the timetabling about trying to condense all your hours down to
I'm only
2 days.
suggesting that so we can see
Yeah.
everyone that's meant to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen it.
Because I only come in to deliver data analytics. It's Suzanne that is the course lead, and you've got other course leads as well, haven't you? Because you're all on different courses. Yours is Helen. Whose is Suzanne's?
We've got Suzanne, Helen,
Anna.
and Anna.
Yeah. So I know they've been talking about trying to condense it down rather than having it spread across. I agree.
It makes more sense because we're not like no one actually was coming on Friday, but it's.
Oh, believe me, I know I've got to go sit on the
Yeah.
M25. I won't get home till 9.
I just think of the time, like the 2-hour break.
Why do you have 2 hour break?
Yeah.
They should put everything together.
I know, and they do know that, and they are trying to organise that. So,
But it's not happening this time.
not this term. You're going to have to suffer for 5 more weeks on a Friday, I'm afraid. Right, so what have we discovered on the Information Commissioner's Office? And don't just read out what you can see on the board. What have we discovered? Have we discovered anything? By the way, if we're not having a break and you do need to just pop to the loo, please do go.
Yeah, I need to. My own is not working. Say accept the cookie. Not accepting any cookie every minute.
ICO Data Protection Audit Executive Summary.
Fantastic. I now know that you can read off a screen. Tell me what all that means.
I didn't get that far.
Gardner, did you accept the
There's a lot
cookie?
on there, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You just
Trying to
accept
sell
it.
Huh?
Yeah.
Is it compulsory we should accept the cookie?
That's up to you. I think you might need
Because
to.
it's not letting me without accepting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any other way we can see it?
Not
with-
to my knowledge. I just accept the cookies because what's the information?
Because they
Commissioner's
said
office
this
do?
cookie-
They are kind of like the people that know what to do with your data. No, I think you can trust the ICO. These are the governing body around data, particularly personal data. And when you go into the action we've taken, it does become really interesting. We're just going to have a little look at this one. Yeah. So you can see when there's problems with cyber attacks, they've issued reprimands to law firms, to city councils. They actually have a lot of power, and a fine from them could actually send a council bankrupt. It could certainly send a business into a problem if it's a smaller business. All these phone calls that you get and they're like, hello, we just want to have a chat with you, we're doing research. They've got your information from somewhere. They could be in breach of the law. So it's important to understand your rights, but it's also important to understand what we do with data. A lot of data gets sold, and when you tick boxes, you sometimes might be agreeing to let your data be sold. See you later. So there's one there about alternatives to using BCC when sending emails.
They keep on selling our data anyway.
So Patient and Client Council sent emails to 15 people across Northern Ireland, each of whom had lived experience of gender dysphoria using carbon copy option. Now they used the carbon copy. Although the body of the email did not contain personal information, the people who received the email could reasonably infer that other recipients had all experience of gender dysphoria. Given their inclusion in the email, this could have been information recipients would not wish to be shared with people unknown to them. what could be the effects of that? How bad could that be if you found yourself on an email list like that? Maybe your family don't know. Maybe you have a cultural background where it's very frowned upon. Maybe your workplace don't know. Blah 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 blah. Maybe your friends don't know. You know, going back 40, 50 years, there was a case of contaminated blood, where some blood that was used by the NHS was contaminated with the HIV virus. And, you know, if your name had found itself onto a list like that, you know, in the early days of that kind of thing, people were getting fired for it. People's family didn't know about it. You know, these things were viewed in very specific ways. So it's really important that although the NHS, it might not lose you any money if your details are shared, they could share something really personal that could be quite harmful.
Didn't that happen to the NHS in like 2015?
It's happened to the NHS many times.
Yeah, I remember, because I went for a lot of testing when I was younger. I remember they couldn't actually get my results or any of my details because apparently there was a cyber attack or something. And it was quite important at that time for me.
Yeah, the NHS, because it's almost too big now. It's too big to fail. They can't let it fail. It's so big, but because of that, these systems that underpin it are too fragmented. So things like data security, the NHS is always getting into trouble with data security, you know, and it's fine. I mean, I was going to flippantly say it's fine if you've broken a foot, but not if you're an athlete. If you're an elite athlete and you've got a foot breakage, you could be losing sponsorship deals.
So the NHS that got hacked recently?
The NHS has been hacked. Many people, banks have been hacked, you know, everybody is susceptible, which is why cybersecurity is such a big job now. But you can see that the magnitude of, you know, even when you just say something flippant like, if it's something like a foot break, but if you're an elite athlete, you don't want people to know you've broken your foot. You could miss out on sponsorship deals. The risks relating to personal information when using messaging apps for business purposes. So one of the things that I keep talking about with my colleagues is that you can actually do a newsletter now in WhatsApp. Now imagine if we WhatsApped everybody and didn't withhold numbers and all of your phone numbers went out to everybody. How would you feel? Would you be okay with that? Or would you be a little bit irritated that half the university had got your phone number? You probably wouldn't be too happy, especially if people were hitting reply all and you were like getting 700,000 emails. Not that we've got 700,000 people here on campus, but you know what I mean. So it's really important that you're very considerate about data and how it is looked after. What I'm going to do is, there's a quick little video. And this is quite a nice, interesting video. So let me just...
It's not crafty. It's your craft.
I hate all these adverts on here.
This is a video for everyone running a business, and it is about the Information Commissioner's Office, the ICO. First, you may have ever heard of them. Might be, when you get a letter from the ICO asking for money, and it looks a bit like a dodgy scam, and it happens usually some months after you start the company. I think the ICO scrapes data from the company's last website every now and then, looks at all the new companies, and then writes to them. It's not a scam. Well, one of those letters is not a scam. There's every possibility that other people will write scam letters that look like ICO letters because they know that these letters exist and ask for money. So I'm not saying you haven't received a scam letter. I'm saying there really is an ICO letter probably coming your way if you start a company. And even if you don't start a company, the ICO is still relevant to you if you run any business. So that's what this video is to tell you about. First thing to say is that there is an online questionnaire you can answer on the ICO's website. Should be referenced in the letter, but if not, there's an online checker to see if you need to pay the fee. The fee is to pay the ICO to keep their lights on.
Light.
Businesses, pay a fee to the ICO so the ICO can exist. The government doesn't pay the ICO, they should, but they don't, they just make us pay. We have to pay for the ICO to exist. The ICO's job is to keep track of businesses who hold data about people. It's pretty broad, isn't it? It's to say, you are handling people's data, so we need to know who you are and who the registered data controller is. There's technical terms, it's all rather boring.
So what's the risks in holding people's data? We've covered it, you should know it. What is the risks in holding
if you
people's
start a
data?
business?
If you start a business or you are a business, what is the risks in holding people's data? So, Tesco's Club Card. What is the risk in holding all that data?
You can get hacked.
You can get hacked.
They could,
What's the risk of the individual?
someone could threaten them. So like, let's say someone really bad got my address.
They can kill
They could
you.
threaten me and be like, you need to give me X amount of money not to share your address to these other bad
Ransom,
people.
is that what
Yeah.
it's called?
Okay, so we're wandering into ransomware. What is another less scary risk? Let's think about less scary ones. What can they do with your data? You've kind of
They can use it to do
Sell
wrong.
it, yes.
They can use it to do fraud.
They can use it to do fraud, yes, absolutely. So they can sell your data. So one of the fastest ways to make money for a lot of companies is selling data banks. And they get a data bank with lots and lots of people's information and they sell it to people. And when you tick I agree, somewhere in those terms and conditions, you may or may not be agreeing to them selling your data. And when they sell a data bank of information, you don't know who it's going to. More than that, you don't know who it's going to get sold to from there. It could end up with people that might commit fraud. It could end up in totally the wrong hands, which you do not want. Ideally, nobody wants to have identity theft. So you've got to be very careful when you tick I agree and make sure that you agree.
When you don't understand, they just tick it. It doesn't matter. It's for formality.
Yeah, but it's more than that, because you could be putting your financial future at risk if you become the victim of identity fraud.
Okay, there's something I want to ask you. You know, during that time, student finance used to give money, you know, and there was some people, they will say to press this button. How did they know you are getting money from student finance? Is it fraud?
Even sometimes when you
Huh?
place an order, you have an order coming.
They say press,
like
press,
sell
press.
The information.
My children
Yeah.
said, Mommy, don't press. Well, I don't even press anything. I have to show my children first.
Hang on. I can't listen to two people at
It was
once.
the same thing. It was the same thing.
Okay,
You know,
so
student finance give you money.
do
They
you,
say press, press, press. Sorry, Jackie.
yeah, hang on. Do you mean when they're asking for verification on who you are, how they know that you've got student finance? Is that what you mean?
It's just similar to what she said. Like sometimes when I order something, I receive a fake message from a text message saying the order's been delayed. Do this to get it or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's all scams. So someone like JD, they're definitely selling my information.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably are. You've probably agreed to it in the T's and C's. But, you know, we get those emails a lot. I mean, I've had a couple of scam emails this week saying I've not paid my TV licence. I know I have. I know it goes out my bank automatically every year. But when you go into the email that it's come from, it's glaringly obvious who it's from. When I receive any emails that's to do with finance, the first thing I do is look at the from, who it's come from. And they are getting more and more sophisticated with that now. So we are becoming more and more susceptible to security risks. So it's really important that you do your due diligence. I mean, I noticed, I was taking out, I got a new dog, I was taking out some pet insurance for her because I want to make sure that she's very well covered, because she's a big dog and I want to make sure she's well looked after. Took out, but when you take out pet insurance, there's it's a credit agreement, and it came back to me saying, who's your bank account with? Is it with HSB, Barclays or this? And that had actually, they are able to tell who my bank account's with from a credit file. So these insurance companies and banks and things like that can see your credit file, so there's an awful lot of information that they have on you. So it's really important that you're very clear about who you allow to sell your information on. Because they could sell any of your information if you agree to it. So it's really important that you're careful. Okay, let's just finish watching this little video and then we'll go back to the PowerPoint.
But the important thing is that you need to register as a data controller if you handle, process people's data, particularly electronically. The trouble is, everybody handles and processes personal data electronically. Even without business, we all do it. When you get an email from someone that's got their name and their email address in, and maybe it's got their, some personal information in it, and you are storing that on an electronic device, your phone, you are transmitting it between electronic devices. All these things that used to be rare and only done by large corporations are now done by all of us automatically all the time. So we kind of all need to register with the ICO, but there are a couple of exceptions that you need to know about, because about half of you will be able to get away without registering. So let's find out if you're in that half. I will put a link in the post to the questionnaire you can answer online to find out if you should be paying the ICO. The questions can be vague. Otherwise, I just leave this post at follow that questionnaire, pay if the answer is yes. But the questions can be vague, so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. Most businesses need to pay £40. There are higher fees. I think there's a £60 fee, and then there's a really high fee for huge companies. It steps up massively, but most businesses, if you have to pay, need to pay £40. I think that's what I pay. I'm an accountant, handle people's data. As I said, everyone handles data in the sort of way described by the ICO, but there are some specific exceptions now because they realise that everybody handles data electronically. So they've put in some exceptions saying, well, you're not really a data handler, you're not really doing what we're talking about here, so you don't have to pay. The exceptions are data you have for staff administration. Obviously, you need your staff's names and addresses and salaries and national insurance numbers. So if you pay someone, you're allowed to have that information. That doesn't make you have to pay the ICO. If you do advertising, marketing, public relations for your own business, that's fine too. So if I collect email addresses and write a newsletter out just about my own business, then that's fine, that doesn't trigger the ICO. I have personal data, I'm manipulating electronically, but that's just about advertising.
Just to be clear, you might not need to register with the ICO, but if you handle people's data incorrectly, you can be fined by the ICO. So don't think just because a company isn't paying the fees doesn't mean that they don't have to adhere to the GDPR. They absolutely do. I'm not going to make you watch the whole of it because I'm kind of feeling like you should have the idea now, and I don't want to deliberate on this too much. I want to cover Porter's 5 forces because that's good secondary data.
I don't understand what he's saying.
Okay.
I'm not enjoying it at all.
I'm very sorry. Fortunately, it's only 4 minutes.
Mm.
Okay, so let's go back to the PowerPoint. Right, so by now you will have all selected your current and relevant business issue and considered trends. We talked about trends earlier. Trends are where we're going to see those visual ups and downs. Yeah? So
Trends.
For example, a retailer like, for example, Next or Zara or New Look or JD Sports, they're going to see probably peaks at Christmas, probably some still quite high just between Christmas and New Year when people are out doing the shopping, and then January, February, they're going to see a steep drop. Coming into spring, beginning of summer, what we're going to see it spike back up again. Why? Why are retailers going to see that spike back up again coming into summer? People are doing what?
Summer shopping.
Summer shopping? Holidays?
Getting ready to...
Buying what?
Buying clothes.
Buying clothes?
Getting ready for their children to change new transgression.
Yeah, getting ready to,
University, A-level,
yeah.
oh, blah, blah, blah.
What else? What else do we see those spikes, particularly in summer? Who else might see spikes? Think logically.
Pubs.
Pubs, yeah. People going out in the summer, enjoying having a little lemonade in the beer gardens and things, and enjoying some summer sunshine. Gosh, can't we all wait for the summer sunshine? What else?
People partying, a lot of wedding.
Weddings, yeah. We'll see a spike in weddings. Things like garden centres, home improvements, DIY, they'll also peak just before Christmas. won't they?
Picnic.
So all of those things that we know, those sort of cultural norms in the retail world, we're definitely going to see peaks and troughs. And obviously you've got your market segmentation, operation efficiency and sustainability. So your data, if your data can evidence any of this, that will be fantastic, especially if you can show it really nicely visually. You know, customer behaviour is just such an interesting space. I mean, even if you just look at sport, you know, obviously if you just take running, it's going to spike in summer, isn't it, when all the competitions are? You know, football, when's football season? I don't know that actually. Don't laugh at me, I don't know very much about
In summer.
September.
So, football, you know, we'd probably see a spike in football kit being sold in September when the football season. Obviously, I know cricket is summer. Tennis is summer. The retailers will see spikes in things like tennis kit when Wimbledon's on. You know, when the cricket is on, they're going to see spikes in selling cricket kit. And actually, FYI, one trend currently is women's cricket is the fastest growing sport in the UK today. Little bit of useless information for you. But it's that data trends that tell us these things around customer behaviour. You know, we wouldn't know that if somebody wasn't analysing the data. So, we need to collect high quality data. We need to use reliable sources.
Right.
And that could be company reports, government databases and industry studies. So this is when I was calling secondary data, all of these three here, you know. Social media insights. If you can find any social media insights, what's the big report that I always talk about? There's a big report.
Big data.
No, what's the big report? We Are Social.
Secondary data.
Yeah, but the report I'm talking about, if we're going to talk about social media insights, is We Are Social. We Are Social gives you so much fantastic data. Have a look on that, see if it'll support any of what you're looking for. Ensure data complies with ethical and legal standards. Now, we've talked quite a lot about GDPR, but there's also other ethical standards that you've got to consider. Where has it come from? How was it gathered? Data collected where somebody has got the arm twisted up their back going, you must answer these questionnaires. That's not ethically collected data. It must be collected in a very ethical way. Which, like for example, the census. You all know what the census is? You can get a lot of data from the census. It's a legal requirement that is done every 10 years. And if you don't do it, you can get fined, or worse, jailed. Probably not though, because there's no space left in the jails. But it has to be ethical and it has to meet legal standards, and it needs to avoid any bias or incomplete data. So you should, because of the size of companies that you're looking at, be able to find some good secondary data. If you can't, for the purpose of this study, you can create your own data, but I would like to see secondary data. So choose analytical methods, descriptive analytics, as in trends or averages.
Okay, descriptive and...
Predictive analytics, either forecasting or machine learning. You're not going to touch on machine learning probably. Prescriptive, which is recommendations based on data. So if you can utilise any or all of those, you're going to get a really good grade. But you need to be able to assess them properly and analyse them in your own words. So for example, what are these trends telling us? We've got this data, it's showing peaks and it's showing troughs. What are those trends telling us? And it might be, for example, cricket is the fastest growing women's sport in the UK. It might be that everybody over the age of 30 has at least one mobile phone. So it depends on the data that you are going to show. Forecasting. Now, if you want to be really clever, you can get the past 5 We Are Social reports and look at the mobile phone usage on people over the age of 30 and saying, based on these historic trends, this is what I predict for the future. That would be some really special kind of data to visualise and see. Because what we should be
Visualise.
seeing is a steep incline. If it's going like that, you're probably going to be telling me something very different. But if it's going on an incline, you should be able to forecast that by the age of 30, 110% of people have 2 phones or something like that. I don't know. So you should be able to use predictive forecasting based on trends.
Okay, Jackie, all these 3 names you call, descriptive, predictive, and other, what type of methodologies will we qualify them?
Well, if you're going to talk about trends, which is your descriptive, you need to be able to explain what those trends are by being critical. So, who does the trend involve? What does it mean? How has it happened? Where has it happened, if that's applicable? So that's what I mean when I say criticality.
Okay,
Instead of going in a deep, dark place,
Criticality.
2010 years ago, the mobile phone was created. It needs to be 2005, 85% of people had mobile phones. By 2007, 87% of people. Be very, very, very critical in your writing.
Okay,
But
criticalism.
descriptive and analytics is where
Let me
you
tell you.
actually talk about the trends. And that's where you're able to say things like, for example,
Criticalism.
based on these trends between 2005 and 2024, where you can see a clear upwards turn
Criticalism.
by
Critical.
90% of the population having a phone at age 30. I'm just picking statistics out of the sky at the moment. I can predict, based on this information, that we will
Criticalism.
see 105%
Critical.
by 2025.
Ism.
So that is the kind of description that we're looking for,
Okay.
whilst being critical in your writing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, criticalism.
You all know what critical writing is. It's not being critical, it's being critical.
Critical.
Yeah?
So that's the methodologies, how you say,
Yeah.
I'm being critical of my writing.
I would expect all of you to probably use, I don't think we've got any Python users in the room, have we?
Criticalism.
I would expect you all to probably present your work using Excel. Do you all know how to create graphs and charts and things in Excel? If you don't, YouTube it. Don't use pie charts, it tells us very little. I keep saying it because, seriously, I see too many pie charts and they really don't tell a story. If you think about a pie chart, it doesn't tell you a story. It tells you how things are maybe today. You'd need a series of pie charts to tell me a story. Whereas with something like a line graph or a bar chart, you can see a definite story. And that's what we're looking for. That's what we mean by descriptive.
There's one that Matilda did for us. He said he doesn't mind if we can do something like that.
Okay.
You know the one he did with Excel?
So
Matilda, Tuesday. Oh.
you need to validate the finding with multiple methods. So I would expect everybody to be able to use maybe a couple of these. If you can use 3, fabulous. Make sure that you signpost it on your slides. So you can put at the bottom of your slide descriptive analytics and predictive analytics, and you can put that. This is my descriptive analytics. This is what I'm predicting.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, Matilda said we should not predict.
Sorry.
Descriptive and the other diagnosis say no, we should not use that one. Number 1 and number 3. Predictive.
Yeah, I agree with her. You probably hang on. I'll just go back.
Number
to it.
1 and number 3.
That's because number 1 and 3 are easier. You can forecast if you really want to, but I agree. 1 and 3 are easier. They're
1 and
much
3.
easier.
He said that is
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
we should.
because what you can do is you can look at, going back to our case study earlier of beans, and say, okay, so we have a trend in Walmart that Walmart beans or Asda beans are more popular than Tesco's, Heinz baked beans. And one can assume, if you are looking at it from a marketing perspective, that the rationale for that would be price. In probably somewhere like Waitrose, I would imagine Heinz baked beans are more popular, and from a marketing perspective, the product would be the reason.
Jackie, please, can you talk a little bit about NHS? So we know.
I can. We can get some NHS statistics up in a minute. I'm going to finish the PowerPoint first, though. Okay, so just going forward, and these slides are on Blackboard. Structure your presentation clearly. I want an introduction. What is the business issue and what is the importance of the issue? Okay? Tell me about what data collection methods you've used. What methodologies have you used? Tell us the key findings with visuals. I don't want it written, I want to see something. I want to look at it and go, wow, look at that wavy scattergraph or that bar chart. It really tells me a story. I don't really need you to tell me what's going on because the graphics is so good I can see it.
Okay.
So that key findings with visuals is really important. Actionable recommendations. So we recommend that because we've got 2,000 cans of baked beans, we recommend that we put a sale on, for example. Or, I can't remember what each of you are all doing.
Or buy one and get one.
Yeah, and that's what the marketing department's doing. That's actionable data that marketing departments will do. With HR departments, they might look at things and say, okay, so we're not making enough money and we recommend that we make some people redundant. Or we keep having GDPR problems, so one of the actionable recommendations would be to increase the amount of training we have with GDPR. Data can tell you anything. So, for example, I'm just going to go back to the girls' cricket for a minute. If, for example, you're a sports shop and you sell 100 3/4 size cricket bats and you only sell 10 full-size cricket bats, what might that tell you? So if you're a sports shop and you sell 100 3/4 size cricket bats for girls' cricket, and you only sell 10 full-size cricket bats for girls' cricket, what might that tell you?
Bats need to be smaller.
It might tell you that bats need to be smaller, but what might else it tell you?
Your market.
Seasonal
Hang on, who was speaking?
Well, I would have said that the market is smaller, so the average person is smaller than
What they think.
Or it might tell you,
This is a big market.
yeah, but it might tell you what? If you're selling 3/4 size cricket bats, what might it tell you? Maybe it's because I'm a mum, it's really obvious to me, but it might tell me that teenagers or young people are buying them because they're shorter, aren't they? Yeah?
They did this with golf clubs, you know.
Yeah.
The business.
Yeah.
They made them shorter, and then they sold them.
Yeah. Yeah, and they found out the average height of golfers and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if I'm selling a lot of 3/4 size cricket bats, I'm going to be thinking this is popular in maybe this age group. And for example, a 3/4 size cricket bat is probably pitched at around the 118 centimetres, which on